Good evening and welcome to Spooky Tales with Steve the Cat, PBDC TV's place for conversations about horror movies. I'm your host, Steve the Cat, and yes, you really are watching a show hosted by a talking cat. Tonight we're dialing the clock way back to talk about an old classic from 1979. We'll get to that in a minute. First, we need to check in with our friends Guinevere and Crimson Meerkat, who are scouring the Appalachian Mountains in an effort to locate and rescue our friend Malcolm Fluffosaurus, who you may know as DJ Dino Fluff. Hey, Gwen, Meerkat, are you there?
We read you loud and clear, Steve. We've encountered a couple of the locals while en route to my camera drone's last known location, and they've offered to help us in the search for Malcolm.
That's great! So who do we have with us?
The name's Chip, and I'm the president of this chapter of the fraternity of Sigma Pikachu. Sigma Pikachu! Woo! And my name is... I'm Todd, and I'm the vice president of Sigma Pikachu. Sigma Pikachu! Woo!
So how does a fraternity like yours end up in the middle of the Appalachian Mountains? Is there a school nearby?
It's the dean, man. He has it out for us. He's always busting us over little stuff, and he finally got enough dirt on us to move us off campus. Every time we mess up, he moves us even farther away.
Well, you are a pretty long way from the University of West Virginia.
West Virginia? We're from Arizona State, dude! Sigma Pikachu! Woo!
So, Meerkat tells me you're going to help us look for Malcolm?
Oh yeah, we love that little lizard. We always play his stuff when we party at the house. Which is every day, dude! Woo! I think I was better off with the hillbillies that wanted to eat me. Seriously, dude, I think your friend is headed towards the haunted Black Woods, and if that's where he's going, you're gonna need our help. Plus, I've got a score to settle with that place. Don't do it, Steve. I'm begging you.
What do you mean you have a score to settle?
Oh, he did it anyway. It's easier to explain that with a song. Our band recorded this over at the VFW Lounge on our last luau night. I loved a girl named Bama-Lama, Bama-Lama Ding Dong. She was a sorceress. Bama-Lama, Bama-Lama Ding Dong. Her curses were the best, and she was mine, oh mine. I wanna be ghosts with my Bama-Lama, Bama-Lama Ding Dong. We hunt them coast to coast by Bama-Lama, Bama-Lama Ding Dong. That's what we loved the most, when she was mine, oh mine. We were in the haunted woods one day, when dark spirits carried her away. She resisted, but they were too strong, and now she's gone. Oh, I couldn't save my Bama-Lama, Bama-Lama Ding Dong. I wish I'd been more brave for Bama-Lama, Bama-Lama Ding Dong. Those ghosts made her their slave, and now she's mine no more.
I feel like I've been violated somehow.
Brother, you've got that right. Don't be a dick, dude. If your friend is in those woods, then you're gonna need our help.
So what's in this for you?
You get PBDC TV to air the pilot for our ghost hunting show.
Fine. Have Gwen upload the pilot episode and I'll take a look. If you guys find Malcolm, I'll make sure it makes it on air.
Righteous, dude! Alright, I need to let you go before we use up all the data on my mom's Verizon account. She gets really pissed when I go over for the month. Talk later, dude.
I've got to admit I'm dying to see how that all works out, because I'm betting they make Meerkat's brain explode within a week. But now that we're caught up on the latest news, it's time to get to the real reason everyone is here and talk about horror movies. Thank you so much for joining us. We're really glad you're here. Now sit back and relax because here we go.
The funeral is about to begin, sir.
Put your hand in the box.
Well, what's in it?
What the hell is going on?
Now remember, you don't aim a gun at a man unless you intend to shoot him. And you don't shoot a man unless you intend to kill him.
Don't fear, Michael.
No warning shots. Warning shots are bullshit.
All right, let's get into our featured film review for the evening. Tonight we're going to talk about a film called Phantasm. More specifically, we're going to talk about a film called Phantasm Remastered. This is a digitally remastered version of Phantasm that looks and sounds absolutely fantastic. Phantasm is a sci-fi horror film released in the year 1979, so yes, this is an old one. This one goes back more than 40 years, but still a good one, and especially the digitally remastered version looks fantastic. This film was directed by Don Coscarelli, and the cast includes Michael Baldwin, Bill Thornbury, Reggie Bannister, and Angus Scrimm as the Tall Man. So let's get into setting your expectations for this film. If you're going to sit down and watch Phantasm, what you should expect is an iconic but somewhat incoherent 1970s sci-fi horror film with a supernatural tone and feel. So technically it is a sci-fi horror film, but it has a very supernatural horror film kind of feel to it. It involves a mortuary and animated undead, and it feels very supernaturally, but it's more of a sci-fi film. If you like Shockwaves or Suspiria, you will probably like Phantasm. They're all movies from that late 70s time period. Let's get into calibrating our expectations. This is the scale we like to use. On the far left side of the scale, we have very campy films, such as Jason X. On the far right side of the scale, we have very serious films, such as The Silence of the Lambs. This scale is not an indicator of the quality of the film. It is an indicator of what your mindset needs to be going into the film if you're going to maximize your enjoyment. Phantasm was kind of a mainstream theatrical release. It is more or less right down the middle. It's not really played for laughs at any point, or above and beyond maybe the occasional bit of comic relief. But at the same time, it is so surreal and some would say incoherent that it's hard to move it over to the very serious side of the spectrum. That and the fact that it's dealing with what is presumably an alien from another planet or another dimension and reanimated dead bodies. You can't have that film with those themes completely over to the far right because it's just too unrealistic. Now, before we go any farther, it's time for our vocabulary lesson. This, of course, is the part of the show where we talk about new and innovative words and phrases in an effort to stay ahead of social media bots and algorithms that would otherwise try to ban our conversation. Social media bots and algorithms are always evolving, therefore our language must continue to evolve to stay ahead of them. 2 terms this week. One's a review term, one's a new term, both of them highly appropriate for this film. So we're going to start out with the term that we have done before, noggin augering. Noggin augering is a noun that refers to the action of drilling or boring a hole in a character's noggin. You probably could have figured that out from the word, but if not, It's the action of drilling or boring a hole in a character's noggin. And of course, where you have noggin augering, you are bound to be followed up with geysering. This is a new term, geysering. What is geysering? Geysering is a noun that refers to the action in a horror movie, any action that causes blood to spurt out in a stream, usually a sharp stream, not necessarily always a sharp stream, but in the case of Phantasm, definitely a sharp stream. Anyway, these two words kind of go together. Wherever you have noggin augering, you are likely to have geysering as a consequence. Anyway, these are your vocabulary words for the week. Please keep these terms in mind. They will become important later in the episode. So let's get into a summary of this film. So, seduced by the lady in lavender, 1970s mustache enthusiast Tommy is lured into a graveyard and murdered. Who is Tommy? Why does he have a mustache? Why is he in the graveyard? Well, that kind of gets unpacked as the film goes along. Tommy's friends Jody and Reggie, along with Jody's younger brother Mike, gather at the mortuary for Tommy's funeral. After the funeral, Mike is kind of concealed out in the trees watching the mortician, and he watches as the mortician easily lifts the casket by himself and puts it back in the hearse instead of burying it. And if you have ever had the pleasure of being a pallbearer, which I have done a number of times, caskets are extremely heavy. We're talking maybe 400 to 500 pounds. And the idea that one guy could pick that up and put it in the back of a car is supernatural in strength. Anyway, this leads to a question. What is the mortician doing with all of these dead bodies that he appears to be stealing? And this, of course, leads us to our villain profile. So our villain for this film is the Tall Man, played by Angus Scrimm. Here you see him right here. Very menacing-looking tall man. He is of the class of undefined alien being with apparently supernatural powers. His special powers include, but are not limited to, immense strength and resistance to damage, and the ability to shapeshift. Earlier we mentioned the lady in lavender luring Tommy to his death in the cemetery. The Tall Man is the lady in lavender. Yes, it's best not to think about that too much. His signature weapon includes a flying silver sphere with retractable blades and a retractable drill bit, and also a large dagger that he uses in hand-to-hand incidents. So this is your villain for the film, Angus Scrimm playing the Tall Man. And now a word from our benevolent overlords at PBDC TV, your nightly heartbeat of horror.
Hello, all you beautiful people. It's your boy, Slippy. And when I'm not gouging my face down in gallons and gallons of ice cream, I'm watching PBDC TV. Yes, the most amazing TV show out there. Now keep on watching. I love y'all. Mwah! Stay nasty.
Well, gentlemen, perhaps we wouldn't be where we are today if we hadn't said to ourselves, just go, 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 go for it.
Final score for this film, we're going to give it 3 paws out of 4.
La Señora de la Santa Muerte, Spanish for Our Lady of the Holy Death.
Out now!
Oh, sex and violence!
Hi everybody, I'm Aka.
And I'm Free Sexist Diamond.
And we are Roots Bleed Red on Psycho Bunny Death Cult.
Aha!
In fact, humans have a very long history of eating each other.
So lock your doors, turn out your lights, and join us for Ghoul Radio.
This is Professor Edgar Fluffosaurus from Spooky Tales with Steve the Cat, and when I'm not hosting Monster Chat or knocking down small Japanese cities, I'm watching PBDC TV. Now back to the show.
So let's talk about the things I liked about this film right off the bat. The picture and sound quality of the remastered film is top-notch and is a pleasure to watch. And normally I would not lead off a review with a comment like that. I would normally start with something about the substance of the film itself, but in this case, the remastered film just looks so good and sounds so good, I just wanted to mention it right up front. So even if you are a fan of Phantasm and you've seen it many times, it's worth watching this remastered version just to see the improved picture and hear the improved sound. Now, to my knowledge, they made no changes to the movie at all. So they didn't remove any scenes, they didn't add any scenes, they didn't digitally modify any scenes. It's just digitally enhanced picture quality and sound quality, and it is just fantastic on screen. The visual aspects of this film, particularly the interior of the mausoleum, are just fantastic. This is a very visual film, and the visuals are very good, and the interior of the mausoleum I found particularly striking. You have a likable cast, particularly Mike and Reggie. You have cool flying silver death spheres, and who doesn't love cool flying silver death spheres? And also, you have Jody's 1971 Plymouth Barracuda, which you see here. Now, this may be the coolest car in all of horror movies. Now, historically, I have been more of a Ford person than a Mopar person, but I have to admit, those old Challengers and Barracudas were gorgeous, and this 71 Hemi Cuda is just fantastic. And like I said, probably the coolest muscle car in all of horror movies. And you get a good look at it here. Let's talk about some of the things that could have been better about this film. It's a very good film, but it is not without flaw. Let's talk about a few of those items. right off the bat, the film is incoherent. Now, some people would say surreal. People who are less charitable would call it incoherent. The central plot is kind of there, but never really explained clearly, and you never really know what is going on. It's kind of like watching somebody else's dream, and it's got kind of a dream feel and dream logic to it. So it's surreal, and you never know entirely what's going on. There's not a lot of explicit exposition for you. When the film is over, you can discuss with your friends what you think happened and what you think was going on. You get a little too much creeping about at about the 1/3 point of the film, and it slows down the plot. You get mediocre acting from the supporting cast. Now, not Mike and Reggie and Jody, but I'm talking about the supporting cast, such as the fortune teller's granddaughter. Not particularly impressive. Now, these were not top-tier actors and actresses. These were primarily people that the director knew. So it's not surprising that you would have some mediocre acting in some of the supporting roles. And finally, when the film is over, you don't really understand what it is you just watched, and this goes with that incoherent surrealism that we talked about earlier. I mean, you kind of know events that happened, but you don't really know what was a dream and what wasn't. You don't know if anything you just saw really happened or if it was all in Mike's head. And you're not really sure exactly what was going on anyway, because it's never explicitly explained to you. Now, the film is enjoyable anyway, but if you're one of those people that needs a lot of concrete exposition, you're probably going to have a problem with this film. Let's get the Steve scorecard for this film. Kills, I counted 5. Bare breasts, I counted 4. Evil Knievelings, counted 1. Yes, Mike has a little incident on his motorcycle. Instubinatings, you have 1 slice, freeing 4 digits from the prison of the hand to which they used to be attached. Yes, very effective work with the knife by Mike. 1 slice and he takes out all 4 fingers. Nogginoggerings, we talked about earlier in the vocabulary lesson. There is 1. And of course, wherever you have a nogginoggering, you can expect soon after to have a geysering. And we had 1 nogginoggering leading to 1 geysering. But with your viewing of Phantasm, you also get a number of bonus features, such as a porn stash and terrifying hairstyles of the 1970s. Now, I don't know exactly who this Tommy guy was, but based upon his appearance, I'm going to guess he was the role model for every porn star in the 70s and 80s, just based upon his mustache and hair. You get cemetery sex. Yeah, really, you get cemetery sex. So, make of that what you will. You get the world's strongest undertaker. As we mentioned, the tall man, Angus Scrimm, able to pick up a casket by himself and put it in the back of the hearse. You get people use jack stands for a reason. Now, this one was just a pet peeve of mine. At one point in the film, young Mike is working underneath the Barracuda, and the car is up on a jack, but there are no jack stands underneath it in case the jack collapses. And sure enough, the jack does collapse and the car drops on him. Fortunately, it just kind of traps him underneath rather than crushing him. But my God, people, use jack stands. They're there for a reason. The jack can collapse, and if it happens to you in real life, you will not come out nearly as well as Mike comes out in this film. You get animated finger action. Once Mike has sliced off some of the tall man's fingers, they continue to move on their own. And following the animated finger, you get giant bug attack action. Let's take a little look at that. So you get giant bug attack action. Now, most of the giant bug attack occurs after the bug has been wrapped up inside Mike's shirt or Mike's jacket, leading to the following point. Okay, the 2 guys wrestling with the shirt look ridiculous. It looks like 2 guys, their first night at an improv class. Now, I understand that this was not a special effects extravaganza, and so you just have 2 guys kind of pantomiming that they're wrestling with a bug inside the jacket. There's really nothing there. But it's not the most convincing thing I've ever seen. You get warning shots are bullshit. Some great advice from Jody to his younger brother Mike on firearm safety, telling him that warning shots are bullshit. If you point a gun at somebody, that means you intend to shoot them, and if you intend to shoot them, you intend to kill them. You get dwarf attack action. You get spectacularly unsafe handling of guns and ammunition. This film is not something you should watch to teach you how to handle a gun. And according to what I have read about this film, the director has kind of admitted after the fact that he didn't know a whole lot about guns and ammunition and their safe handling on set during the filming of this movie. And at one point, I believe I saw an anecdote that he accidentally set his own jacket on fire with one of the blanks from one of the weapons. So as we know now, this kind of thing can be particularly dangerous, and it needs to be well managed and well controlled on set. So don't point a gun at somebody, even if it's a prop gun, even if it's loaded with blanks. Blanks can kill people. And finally, if he kills 4 more self-driving hearses, he'll be an ace. Yes, at one point in this film you have a self-driving hearse chasing the Hemi Barracuda, and it does not end well for the hearse. So let's get to Steve's final score for this film. I'm going to give it 3 paws out of 4. We're going to say this is an iconic, if somewhat incoherent, classic film from the end of the 1970s. It's a little too much sneaking around in the middle, but otherwise a very entertaining film. Now, historically, I have considered Phantasm a 2.5 paw film, but we're going to give it an extra 1/2 for the beautiful restoration, bringing the total up to 3 paws. So that is our review for Phantasm, and that is our featured film review for the evening.
God, they're beautiful.
Down there.
Calm down. I believe you, okay? I believe you. Let's just get back, all right? Nice and calm, okay? Come on. Son of a bitch! Yes! Come on, guys, move it!
We've reached the end of this episode of Spooky Tales with Steve the Cat, but before we go, as is our tradition, we're going to take just a minute to talk about some other stuff I watched this week. Tonight we are going to talk about this film called Great White. I found this film on Shudder. Now initially I thought this was a Shudder exclusive. Upon further examination, I don't think that's the case. It's definitely available on home video. This is a 2021 film, and it is an Australian shark attack thriller, which you probably gathered from the poster. In this film, Kaz, the character played by the lovely Katrina Bowden, and her boyfriend Charlie operate a seaplane charter business in the vicinity of the Great Barrier Reef. The pair carry a pair of vacationing customers out to an island atop the reef, where they find the deceased victim of a shark attack. So they've carried a husband and wife out to this island for a picnic, lunch, and such, you know, the typical tourist thing. They find a body washed up on the shore who has been the victim of a shark attack. So their first thought is to contact the authorities, but they then see that the victim had a picture of his girlfriend on his phone, and they start thinking, well, she could still be out there, she could be in danger, and help is not going to find her in time, so we need to set out and look for her. This, of course, is a big mistake. After landing the seaplane on the water next to her derelict boat, a big shark bites and sinks the seaplane. As sharks are wont to do, they hate airplanes with a passion. So all that stands between the cast and a pair of great white sharks is a flimsy rubber life raft. Who will survive? Well, that, of course, is the question at the heart of all shark thrillers, and it's the question at the heart of this one as well. So what did I think of this film? Well, it's a run-of-the-mill CGI shark thriller. Run-of-the-mill being the operative term here. This film is incredibly average. There is nothing bad about it. I cannot say this is a bad film, but there's nothing particularly interesting about it either. I can't really give you a good reason to watch this film. I can't give you a good reason to avoid this film. This film is, it's like tap water. It's like room temperature. It's right down the middle. Now, the scenery in this film is beautiful, some of which you saw in the clips we showed just a moment ago. And, of course, the lovely Katrina Bowden is beautiful. Now, for those of you who are new to the show, Katrina Bowden is a member of the Spooky Tales with Steve the Cat Scream Queen Hall of Fame for her fabulous performance in the comedy Tucker and Dale vs. Evil. We talked about her in Season 1 of this show. The CGI sharks, more mediocre than beautiful. But overall, meh. There are better shark movies out there, such as The Reef, or the recent film The Reef Stalked. Both of those films are Australian as well. I would recommend either of those films above Great White. So that is some other stuff I watched this week.
That brings us to the end of yet another episode of Spooky Tales with Steve the Cat. Thank you so much for joining us. We had a lot of fun putting this episode together. We hope you enjoyed it as well. Of course, we always love to hear from you, so feel free to sound off in the comments about your favorite moment with the tall man, or your favorite film in the Phantasm franchise, or anything else that comes to mind. And as always, if you did enjoy the show, please give us a like and a share. The best thing you can do to help us out is to share this video. If you want to stay up to speed on our latest videos and other goings-on, you can follow us and subscribe on social media. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Rumble, and Facebook. Spooky Tales with Steve the Cat is available exclusively through PBDC TV, your nightly heartbeat of horror. If you're interested in horror movies, true crime, creepy history, or unexplained events, we're sure to have a show for you. You can find us at PsychoBunnyDC.com, and we're also on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and Rumble. We also have a 100% Zuckerberg-free Discord site. If you would like to check it out, just head on over to PsychoBunnyDC.com and click the link for an invitation. We'll be back next week with a found footage exorcism film, so you won't want to miss out. We hope to see you then, but in the meantime, everyone have a great week and stay safe. We'll see you again soon. Good night, everybody.